Hey everyone, it's me, the Lucky Big Viewer, and here we are with the next video. Sorry for these taking so long to get through, but we now move on to what I would argue is the most tragic character and master, I guess, just same, I don't know, same thing. Most tragic master and extra, Alice and her servant Nursery Rhyme. Why is Alice tragic? Allow me to put it like this. If there was ever a character you can pull to prove just how horrible mages are, how messed up they are, and how they have basically thrown away their humanity in pursuit of the root, Alice is the prime example of this belief. Why? Well, she was a girl that lived during World War II, was a survivor of the Germans bombing the city. However, she got basically was put into a vegetated state. Now, any ethical people would probably just put her under and put her to sleep for good. However, she had really high quality magic circuits. So you know what mages decided to do? Decided to do with this, I don't know, 8 year old girl that was in a vegetated state. They decided to experiment on her for years. Not weeks, not months, not even a year, for years. They did this for years. Until her finally. Sorry, hold on. Until her body finally gave up and she died. And mind you, this is long before the before extra slips off into its own timeline. Technically speaking, Alice Alice is canonically a part of the Stay Night timeline. Alice canonically happened. This stuff canonically happened. Mages, this is like, again, this is prime example of why mages are terrible people. Like, that's there is far in that, then there's way too far, and Alice is an example of mages going way too far just to sate their own curiosity. But luckily, in the extra universe, while her body may have died, her soul basically floated into the moon cell, and she basically became a cyber ghost. And for the most part, she pretty much couldn't be seen by anyone. Mostly because, again, she's a cyber ghost while everyone else is, alive. And this pretty much continued up into the point where she eventually got into the Grail War, and her servant being, of course, the embodiment of literally being the embodiment of the Nursery Rhymes. And of course, taking her appearance as well. Because since Nursery Rhymes' whole gimmick is that she basically reflects the summoner. So, you now basically have Nursery Rhyme and Alice. And honestly, from what we can tell before the third round, they kind of, they seemingly, I guess, they just, how do I explain this? They kind of defeated their opponents before the final round, I think. Before the end of the week round. Because you had the Jabberwocky, this nigh immortal thing that basically can't, unless you have the Vorpal Blade, Mystic Code, you can't really defeat it because it just regenerates, and the only way you can more or less defeat it is by just outliving it through pure mana exhaustion for it. And then you have the Nameless Forest. And if you think Nursery Rhyme is a sweet little girl can't really do anything, the Nameless Forest would like to prove you wrong. What does the Nameless Forest do? This is getting into a bit of what Alice can do, or Nursery Rhyme can do, not Alice. My bad. They're kind of interchangeable, but What do you think Nursery Rhyme can do with the Nameless Force? She can quite literally remove you from existence. I'm not joking. I'm not kidding. If you not remember your name within the Nameless Forest within a certain amount of time, your existence will cease to be. A servant has a reality marble that can quite literally remove people from existence. Oh, amazing, isn't it? It's just, it's just, it's so amazing that they have a servant has this, that she has this ability. And this is me getting taking a stab at freaking Fago, and they don't have a user whatsoever in Fago. I just like Goetia. Would would Goet like I'm good. I'm being hyperbole. I'm pretty sure Goetia would probably not be able to be fine within the Nameless Forest. But it's just again, it's just really just shows like y- your name. If unless you can remember your name, you will literally cease to be. Granted, the mine remove the beginning part seems to be only limited to the arena, but again, it's just it only proves just how amazing of a Seven Nursery Rhyme is and how underrated she is. Because she also has the Trump soldiers. She not like Trump cards. I mean, not the actual. You know what I mean. Freaking card soldiers. The card soldiers, basically. Kind of like Alice in Wonderland, the and Queen of Hearts. How she basically has just soldiers that are cards. Anyways, I guess we should move on to actually now we talked about a little. Let's talk about their appearance within Extra and Last Encore. Actually, let's do Last Encore first because Last Oncore's a bit sadder because apparently they never met Hawkno. And more so, they pretty much just gave up. They never fought Hawkno. They more or less simply surrendered, allowing the master that defeated her to move on to the next round while she seemingly survived, even though we know that isn't the case, where she basically spent the next 1,000 years waiting for that person to come back, even though they seemingly were dead, to the point where she kind of became the floor master, the monster you have to defeat the doing the third floor. It's honestly, if there was ever an episode I'd say it's the most confusing to understand, it's the third episode. It's Alice's episodes because we don't really get why she turned into this. Is she supposed to be the Jabberwocky? Like what? Also, how could she have done this? Like I don't know. I don't know. I just again last Margar once again like obviously let's say in the past month within the last month we watched all last encore and I just her her episodes were trippy. The thing I do like about is they brought up the actual perpetual motion engine thing that aka Green Glass game I think is what's it called. Hold on. Rhyme. I'm pretty sure that's what her Nova her what's it called the perpetual Queen engine. Hold on. The Queen's Glass game. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Basically, again, also another thing that makes Nursery Rhyme insane. Compare, she literally has a noble phantasm that pretty much allows her to reverse time. She can literally turn she literally turns the battle all the way back to the first turn. It's just it's insane. and yet she's basically treated as an innocent kid servant in Grand Order, even though she is kind of shown to be insanely strong, like insanely powerful because of an overphantasm. Like physically, like Caster and like as a servant wise, like strength wise, that stuff. Yeah, Nursery Rhyme is a caster. She isn't that strong, but she can just summon She can basically summon infantry to fight for her. She can summon the Jabberwocky, create the Nameless Forest, and has this. And she probably has a bunch of more stuff, but we just never get to see. But I guess we go again. This is something I guess we should say for the end. Now going to actual extra where things actually make sense. You basically have like the saddest week in that you have basically this girl who is pretty much dead, who's just a Cybergirl, who's pretty much only given a second chance to live to basically, you know, get to play. And I think this is one of the better weeks to be done. Like the dialogue choices, like all of it. I think that week 3 is one of the what like early on is one of the more memorable ones. Like in terms of like the start of the game, but like it's pretty much this pretty much leads into like the halfway point, like the middle of the game. Like this is pretty much the end of the beginning of the game and into like the middle parts where things start to get harder. So you basically have like even at the end, you pretty much have her basically coming to terms with the fact that this was all basically a dream. And she does it peace, and it's nice. It's like, I mean, Nursery Rhyme is a bit sad about it because she basically realizes even if she gets summoned again, she's never going to, it's not gonna be the same because she changes based on a summoner, and Alice was basically the only, without Alice there is no Nursery Rhyme as we know her, which Grand Order kind of forgot, but I will bring that up. But yeah, it's kind of harsh, and I'm pretty sure, like, even when I went through replaying it, I never stopped crying for that part because it's just, again, you're basically forced to permanently end the existence of this girl who's only known pain and loneliness for so long, and it's sad. Thankfully, CCC happens, and we got a bit more of her until Melt happened, and yeah, for anyone who doesn't know that Melt was once a terrible person before Grand Order, well, before her character development thanks to Hawknail and by extension Grand Order, she pretty much tore Nursery Rhyme into 3 pieces and kind of left Alice pretty much a lifeless doll, and it's only through reuniting Alice with Nursery Rhyme that Alice can finally actually, get peace. Yeah, like I said this back in the Shinji video, but Melt is kind of messed up. Like, insanely crazy. And again, I guess, that's kind of the entire point of a character arc. Her going from this horrible person to actually tolerating people. But, yeah, that's pretty much Alice. And now, but something to note when it comes to Nursery Rhyme, especially when it comes to Grand Order. The reason why she continues to maintain Alice's appearance, even though we have seen that she appears as a book. It's because of Alice's wish to, play with people, to be a kid. Something she more or less never got when she was alive because, mages and humanity and war and World War II, that kind of stuff. It's so to essentially have Nursery Rhyme, especially when it came to her interlude, basically have to come with the conflict of I'm supposed to be a reflection of my summoner, yet I still have, want to fulfill the wishes of my previous master. To essentially have her live on through me and continue to be able to play with people. I that like Nursery Rhyme is probably one of the greatest like fan servicey fan service done right interludes, because that interlude basically explains the entire situation to why she can turn into a human, and it's to basically fulfill Alice's final wish, her one desire for the Grail. Well, not even for the Grail, because again, that's the thing with Alice. Even though she died, she already got her wish granted. She got people to play with. She got to play with people. And Alice, even now, Alice wants to continue that. Nessa Ryan wants to continue to fulfill that wish. You essentially have Alice live through her. And again, it's kind of one of the good part interludes. Like, her and Vlad interludes are kind of actually good in terms they touch upon their previous masters. Something I wish they at least continue with Enkidu rather than getting cut down, because I recently went back and looked and saw that they basically cut down Enkidu's whole speech about Gil finding someone who's completely different at them, someone who can basically walk beside and stand next to Gil and trouble the stars with them. Speech in the JP one got cut down to NNA to the point where on initial viewing, I didn't even recognize that was what that was referring to. It's only after the second interlude came out I didn't find what I was looking for. I had to go back and look. That I found out that was the case. So I'm at least glad Nursery Rhyme and Vlad pretty much escaped NA's localization for Grand Order. But in terms of what Alice Nursery does in terms of story, not not a whole lot, sadly. She she appeared throughout. She was one of the many cast servers that came out in London, and that's basically it. Like, I think her role was kind of minor. I think they just went to a bookstore, fought her, defeated her, and then that was pretty much it. It was pretty much on to the next enemy. Like, she pops up a lot in events because again, she's one of the few children servants that pretty much they can use. So it kind of comes. That's why she kind of appears a lot. But in terms of an actual story, she didn't really do a lot, and I think in this situation that's kind of fine. Because again, her interlude pretty much makes up for it, and I think that's all you really needed to do with her is that interlude. And yeah, that's basically it. Again, Grano didn't give us a lot of Nursery Rhyme, but I am glad they gave us, that whole thing with Nursery Rhyme. I do love that. I love that to bits. Because we do know what happens if she was basically summoned with, like, say, the Little Mermaid tale. Like, I think that's a thing that Grano showed her dress with the Little Mermaid stuff. Eh, I think that's a pretty nice taste, but I mean, pretty addition, but pretty much, yeah, that's sort of it. Again, Alice is probably the saddest character in all of Extra. Like, some characters go through stuff, and we will get touch upon certain other characters, but it's just she she pretty much the example I go to whenever people talk about how majors are messed up. I simply point to Alice. It's like, yeah, they're insanely messed up, inhumanely messed up, and I only feel like the only reason they continue to exist is because the world doesn't know them on like a grand scale. Because if they did, and people found out this is what some of the stuff they did, I imagine they would we would pretty much have a witch hunt for mages, because it's just, my god, like, again, the level of inhumane stuff that mages are willing to do just to get the root is kind of crazy. But yeah, that's basically Alice. pretty much like in terms of the first, second, third round, I'd say she's pretty like in terms of just straight up extra favorite character. In terms of CCC, I guess I don't know. It's between her and Shinji. Den kind of didn't get anything, and I'm disappointed. But yeah. Next time we'll be going over. I think we're moving on to. Hold on, let me double check. Did I do Vlad? I think I did. I think I've done Vlad and. Have I not done? No, okay, I did Gunji. Oh yeah, I did. I've done. I have done Vlad and I'm Runru and Monji. So I guess next time we're going to go do Best Boy Julius next time. Yay! But yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.